at that one point where you stop playing the game, where you like see the matrix, where you completely understand, oh, so this is what's going on. Once you get that, the world is open. Hello and welcome to the Artful Maestro podcast. I am your host, Nenad Leonart, and we're here to learn everything about the new age and what's coming to change our future. Now today, we're going to look at how the system is rigged against you. Why there is no chance to get against that system. So, what we're going to look at is finding solutions and finding methods how to avoid these pitfalls, how to take yourself out of the game, so to speak, and not fall victim to a system that's been going on for hundreds or maybe even thousands of years and where you don't have any say in it. Now, before we get started into this, I have, to some degree, been successful in doing this, in stepping a little bit outside of the system, creating my own rules, and living on my own terms. And I am sure that maybe even 30 or 40 years ago, this would not have been possible. So, living in today's time, living in this new age with all the digital possibilities that we have, I think it's so exciting for us musicians. I think that it's so rewarding to be able to have all these possibilities that will enable you to have a life that you could not have had even 20 or 30 years ago. And again, the reason being that the system is rigged against you. All right, so what do I mean by that? That the system is rigged against basically every one of us classical musicians. Well, there's different aspects to it. And what I want to start with is maybe something that's not as evident to you, but that is going to be the foundation of everything that we discuss here. And that is going to be your internal emotions, your emotional life, the way that you communicate to yourself, and the way how it looks on your inside, because that is actually where it all starts. And that is a part we have never really taken the time to examine, maybe pose certain questions, and see where this is going. Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions. And just, if you need to pause the podcast at this point and just give yourself a little bit of time, a couple minutes maybe, to just reflect on these questions and find if they have some relevance for you, if they ring true, if it actually is like this. And you'll see that what lies beyond can be probably very rewarding in helping you uncover what is actually going on here. So let's start. Being the theme that the system is rigged against you, was there ever a time in your life, as a kid maybe as a teenager, where you had your dreams crushed, where you knew what you wanted to do, where you knew where you wanted to go, and you were very clear on that, and you were very optimistic, positive, maybe even working regularly towards that goal, and then something happened, someone came, somebody told you something, or maybe you went to a competition, maybe there was a disaster on stage, like something happened that really crushed your dreams. What happened there? And also, how did you feel? going back to it, you probably understand or see that there's a part of you in the past that has actually been very optimistic and very interested in life and what it has to offer. And maybe if you compare it to yourself today, like how you today look at life, how you go about it, what your goals are, where you're coming from, probably you can see a discrepancy. Probably you're not as optimistic or maybe not as trusting. Probably you've learned a couple life lessons. You've learned to turn off your emotions maybe, or you've learned not to trust people. You've learned to maybe don't disclose all informations, or maybe you've just learned to keep completely to yourself, not involve others in your plans, because others can't be trusted as well as you can trust yourself. Why I'm asking you this and why we're doing this is that I want you to realize that there was something happening to you at that moment, and that also happened over the years, that has kind of really cemented this foundation of you not trusting to other people, of you maybe get disillusioned by everything that's going on, of you maybe feeling like there's not enough opportunities, there's not enough good stuff to go around, because something that you wanted, something that you were going after, something that was important to you, you kind of didn't get it. And the life lesson learned there was probably one that has shaped you up until today. Okay, so that's a lot to start with, and probably we've opened up a couple things at this point. Now, what we're going to do with these things is we're going to, on one hand, honor them, that they are there, because when a young person gets their dreams crushed, that's not a easy thing to have happen. There's a lot of pain involved. There's a lot of sadness, maybe even anger, maybe fear of what's going to happen if it continues. Well, that's why it's important to honor it. That's why we want to stay with these emotions and not try to push them away or repress them like we maybe did in the last couple of years. Because by honoring them, you get the actual lesson. You will understand what is behind this whole thing, and you will be able, at the end of the session, you'll be able to see how the system is actually rigged against you and how you can use the power of your own emotions and your inner mental processes to be free of all of that. Okay. So we're staying with the emotions. We're going to stay right there. Whatever happens, you can also pause the podcast if you have to. If you want to stay with your emotions, this is really important. We want to be with them. We want to honor them, and we don't want to push them away now that they are up here. Now that we're here and we have all that knowledge, what I want to do is to paint a picture of how I found life to be like growing up, and how we all probably share this experience in regards to being a classical musician. Usually for me, it was that everybody was really happy for me performing. Everybody was saying, oh, look how talented this person is. They're going to do great things. They try to help me out, have some concerts, play in front of more people, and so on. But no aspect was ever focused on the emotional part. No aspect was ever focused on what I really wanted or where I wanted to go. Because for all of these people from outside, it was very clear what I was supposed to do, what I was supposed to want, where I was supposed to be going, how I was supposed to be educated, and so on. So there's like a whole mechanism being held in place by institutions, by teachers, by professional musicians, by record labels, by concert organizers, by all of the people involved in cultural life, from the ones that are in the performing arts or maybe even like amateurs, up to the politicians and people actually giving the money, cultural funds, foundations, and so on. So everybody has a say in it. And all of these institutions have like this kind of silent agreement where nobody talks about it, but the rules are very clear. The rules are very, very clear. And if you want to get inside of that system, like be a part of it, they will usually not disclose the rules. They will not tell you how to actually become part of it. Because it's a little bit like this old thing with aristocracy. Like, if you are not born into it already, you're not really part of it, right? If you are not born as a super successful person who works in the performing arts or who works in culture or who is informed, has great opportunities, great talent, you'll not be actually a part of it. And this is the message that is getting thrown outside to everyone, to every little kid that maybe wants to reach more, to every aspiring teenager who has their goals, who wants to go there. And the interesting thing is, it is kind of true for everyone, because literally everyone feels this way. Everybody is talking about gatekeeping. Everybody is talking about having too few opportunities. And I've actually never gotten to talk to a person on the inside. And I think this has something to do with that nobody really feels on the inside. This is like such a huge construct. It's such a huge thing that people have created that probably there's very few people having a say in it, and you don't even know who they exactly are. And maybe they don't even know themselves what kind of influence and importance they have, because, and this is the huge part, because they're still stuck in the mindset of not being a part of it. They're still stuck in all the experiences that they've gotten growing up and furthering their career of not belonging, not being a part of it. I've talked to some very, very successful people in the music business, and all of them told me, yeah, I have had imposter syndrome when I'm on stage playing in front of these people. I still have that today sometimes, like even with the references coming, because we are growing up in a system that is constantly telling you that you are not a part of it. There's always a part of you that believes that and that feels that you are not part of it. Can you believe this? Like, do you understand how this is happening? Because that is going to be the key to understanding who you actually can be and how you can actually have a career that is not dependent on some weird dynamics that have been put in place by we don't know who and have been going on for hundreds of years. Having said that, it is really important to notice that for me, it's not about putting blame on anyone or anything. It's just the way things are. And as I've said, like the people who are in it and where you feel like, oh, they have it all. They have all the money, or they have all the fame, they have the best job in the world, or they are super successful. Inside, a part of them still feels like they don't belong there. Like they are not good enough for the post that they have, that they are not supposed to be this successful, that they are not supposed to be there. So I'm saying not their whole being is feeling like that, but they have a part of it that gets this imposter syndrome. And maybe then they have also other internal beliefs where they think, okay, you know, I've earned this, or I've been working so hard, or I'm very talented in this one thing, and so on. So they kind of rationalize it, why it's working for them. And I mean, you can do that. It's not necessarily the path that is going to lead you to being really happy with what you do or to feeling fulfilled, but you can do that. So, I mean, it's better than nothing, right? If you do that, however, you will lose touch with your emotions that, going back to the beginning, that you had kind of growing up. So why did I go to this one particular place where you kind of had your dreams crushed, where you didn't get what you were supposed to get in your mind, or like what you set out to get? What your goal was, what you used your willpower and time to work towards, or what you just wished so much to happen, but it never happened. The reason why we're going there is because you want to learn what happened to you exactly. You want to find out what is this thing that's going on. And you also want to find out how you can change that. I have studied with a piano professor who has been very, very involved in furthering his music career. I think since he was 6 years old, that was everything that he was doing. He had a music family, he was put in there, he won a couple very prestigious competitions, and everything in his life basically was sacrificed to get to the place of being the most famous pianist on the planet, which he didn't attain. He just didn't reach that for who knows why, right? There's so many reasons how this thing can happen. And this led him to a frustration that ran so deep that he told me if he had the chance at life again, he would not play music at all. And now this is a person who is educating other musicians to become professionals in a music university. And I studied with this person, and I always felt like there's something off, like on a very deep emotional level, something's really wrong here. And this was, I guess, one of the parts that was wrong there got uncovered. He actually didn't believe that pursuing a career in music was worth it. So here you have someone who's supposed to have it all, who did all the job, all the work, right? And the universe did not give him what he expected that he should get for his work, for his sacrifice, for doing everything for that one instrument. Obviously, you can form your own opinion on this matter, and probably you already have, because you know of such people in your surrounding as well. I'm talking about the frustration that he was passing on to his students that would study with him and go frustrated starting out their professional life as frustrated musicians. Maybe they wouldn't admit to that, but at a certain level, you can see that every one of them was struggling. Like, I don't even know that I've ever met a person in my studies or after that they didn't feel like they were struggling. I met a couple other musicians and creators who kind of put themselves out of the system. So that's another story. They were not victims of the system, but like people who tried to play the game. I have not met a single one that did not have a certain degree of frustration, up until like full-blown anger. Okay, I guess that you can share these experiences as well. And that's the reason why I'm telling you that you want to go back to these first experiences, what we started out in the podcast, and you want to actually look at yourself, what happened there, and you also want to look at these emotions and not look at them in a mental kind of way, but actually go through them with your feelings, with your body, because that is what is going to allow you to uncover all the pain and all the suffering that went into this one thing. Why we are doing this is because, first of all, you don't want to become frustrated, like in the story that I told you. But the second thing is that when something like it happens, what we tend to do as humans is we tend to experience so much pain that we want to repress it, right? So we kind of have our psyche going on, and then we just create like a small split. And we say, I don't want to really think about this anymore. I don't want to feel these feelings. That's just stupid. That's for losers. That's for whatever. So we split it off and we just put it away. And I mean, that's good and all. Kinda. But it's very short-term thinking, because that thing is still there and it's still active. Like, even if we don't want to really admit it, we know it's there. Like, you know it's there because when I asked you to remember it, you actually did feel the pain, the frustration, the disappointment, the suffering of that thing happening. Okay? So you actually really, what you want to do is go back and allow these feelings to happen. So like, we don't have this split anymore, but we can start integrating it into who we are today. Because if we don't do that, that stuff is still going to run our life. It's still going to run. Again, it's going to be active, just in the underground. You're not going to be aware of it. And what's going to happen is you are going to play this situation in your life over and over and over again. And that's kind of a really brutal thing, if you think about it, that since that one thing happened and you like split it off, put it away, put it in a safe place where it doesn't bother you, actually what happened is that that thing created a couple beliefs inside of you. It created a new view at the world that you hold up until today. You remember when I asked you to go back and think about what the kid was thinking and feeling and how it differs to how you think and feel today about this thing? So there was a much richer and happier emotional life going on that you kind of just threw away and put in some new beliefs, thoughts, emotions in place of that. And the reason why this is so problematic for you right now and in your future is because with these new beliefs, you're actually going to repeat that one situation over and over again. Just think about your life. Like, how often did it happen that exactly this thing did happen again? Like the thing where you felt so disappointed, that was completely excruciating, that kind of took away all your motivation and everything. How often did it happen again in your life? I don't know about you. For me, it was countless. Like, I literally cannot count the amount of how often this has happened. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So look at that. It is already a thing that's running the show in your life. And at this point, I am guessing that you kind of have a little bit of a feel why the system is rigged against you. Because there's like an external system, but there's also an internal system that we have. And this external system that we look at, that we say, oh, that's the music industry, or that's politics, or that's whatever's going on there, it's so easy to go and point fingers and to blame and to, throw guilt at people, or say, this one's good, this one's bad, this is supposed to be this way, and this isn't supposed to happen. That's really easy to do. Really easy. However, it is only a reflection of what's going on inside. Let me rephrase that again. What is happening outside, oftentimes we feel like, oh, that's external, and if only these external circumstances would change, I would feel different. But in reality, it's the other way around. If we finally started to feel different on the inside, we would be able to change the external circumstances. It might sound a little mind-blowing to you right now. Let me explain. This implies that we have to take responsibility for our own emotions. Because how are you going to change something that's going on inside so you can change something that's going on outside? Right? Everybody's like, no. First outside changes, then I'm happy. Well, here's a test. Can you think of a time where you went and did a thing that you thought, oh, this is cool, this is great, this is just what I want? Like going on vacation, maybe. Right? You go on vacation, and then it probably feels great for the first day, for second day, third day. And if you're there with your partner, maybe after the third day, you kind of start bickering a little bit. You kind of get unhappy about certain things. You kind of get unsatisfied. So you get into a fight, or maybe you start disliking stuff when you're, I don't know, at the beach, and then you notice, oh, there's like a lot of trash lying around, and the people aren't as friendly as they could be, and so on, right? So your internal talk starts changing your perception of the surrounding. And there's like this easy saying of, where you go, there you are. Which means wherever you are in the world, wherever you try to go and change your external circumstances, you're going to bring all the internal circumstances with you, and they are going to change your perception of what you're noticing around, and it's going to be the same thing over and over again. Okay? So that is why it's so important to take responsibility of your emotions, which means acknowledging what happened and say, okay, you know what? I'm 100% responsible of how I feel about this. And that's the clue. You are 100% responsible of how you feel about it. This doesn't mean that you have to take the blame for feeling the way that you feel or the way that you felt. Like there was still some really uncool stuff going on and happening to you that you had to come to this point. Having said that, if you take 100% responsibility for everything that's going in your life and inside of you, you're able to make dramatic changes. You're able to create so much change and so much positive things for you that you will not recognize yourself even if in a couple months. This means taking responsibility, saying, I have the full power to change how I feel about this and to change where I am going with this. So, if you have this full power, realizing it, okay, I'm 100% responsible. What are you going to do with it? And one of my first suggestions is to actually just go and dive deep into this emotional stuff. Because, to be honest, that's the thing that's running the show. It's not the system out there. It's not the labels. It's not the concert organizers. It is not your colleagues that are mean and mean-spirited. It is actually your own experience that kind of turned against you, that has closed off emotions and closed off experiences and is kind of hindering you to become the person that you are supposed to be. Now, look at it from this way. If you say, oh, you know what? All that emotional crap, I don't really want to deal with that. I don't really want to feel disappointed or exhausted or really sad that these things happened when I was growing up. Nobody of us wants to feel that way, okay? So do not repress them back again. Now that they came up, the only thing how to get rid of them, you cannot get rid of them, but the only way that you can bring them into balance with your body is to actually feel through them, right? So life is supposed to have very many facets. And if you want quality of life, you have to take all of the facets of life, the good ones and the bad ones. So if you don't want your really bad stuff happening over and over and over again to you, you actually need to go back and work on your experience of that one particular thing so you can actually let go of it completely. Not repress it, not split it off, not say, this is nothing to do with me, I don't want to go there, but to actually go ahead and integrate it. And you say, okay, this is how I felt, this is what I took away from it. It's kind of what I learned, but it's an integrative emotional learning as opposed of splitting it off and saying, no, this is not me. I don't want to feel that way. I'm going to put everything in place that I possibly can with my life so this never happens again. And it's going to happen again if you do that. Like that's a promise. Now, having said that, if you feel like there is some trauma involved in this, if you feel like these are things that happened that are too intense for you to go through alone, do contact a professional who does this sort of things and helps people with going through experiences that otherwise they feel like they cannot master going through on their own. There's a lot of traumatic experiences out there. There's a lot of bad things happening to good people. And what I really, really suggest you do in that case is just contact a professional, see how they can help you. Go with your gut feeling, like don't pressure yourself into anything. So this just as a disclaimer, I'm talking here like the process that we're doing during this podcast. This is about like lighter emotional stuff. It's still going to be very unpleasant, but it's not going to be something in the realms where you would also like to get some professional help in. Okay? So just this is a disclaimer. And to summarize, because right now you know what to do, you know what's up. Looking back at what we've talked about is, if you feel like the system is rigged against you, it is. It absolutely is. And I could sit here for 3 hours and talk to you what things are really, really wrong in the music industry and how we could improve on so many levels and how this world could get to be much better for everyone. And I guess it makes sense to do that once that we pass a certain point of working on ourselves first. Because again, if we don't work on ourselves first, we're just going to stay stuck in the same loop, and we are going to be playing out the same games over and over again. There's so much more for me to tell on this topic that I feel like I'm going to do another episode. And just so we really look at this in depth, so you get to have a tool set for yourself of how to look at the world in the classical music realm, but also at the world in general, and how to actually start creating meaningful and permanent change in your life to actually get the goals and dreams you want for yourself. Because, spoiler alert, it is not how everybody says it is. It really isn't. The system seems like it's rigged against us, but it's only because we play that game. At that one point where you stop playing the game, where you like see the matrix, where you completely understand, oh, so this is what's going on. Once you get that, the world is open. You can do many, many great things, and I'm happy to talk to you about that in the next episode. Have a good one.